Welcome to the All Outdoors Photography Podcast with your hosts Henry Doyle and Ryan Taylor, where we discuss all things related to outdoor and nature photography. In today's episode, we invite Sean Hollowell onto the show to discuss all things bird and wildlife photography, which he is very passionate about. I hope you enjoyed the show.
All right, welcome back to episode 15 of the All Outdoors Photography Podcast. And today we've got a very special guest.
He's bird photographer Sean Hollowell. We're going to be talking just all things bird today, birding and photography, of course. We'll just take it away, Sean. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the invite, Ryan. Been watching. I don't think I've missed an episode from you guys, so I'm definitely excited to be on it this week. So, my name's Sean Hollowell. Originally from Florida, lived most of my life in Indiana, and then for the past about six or so years, I've been living in Ohio. Actually, really close to where Ryan lives, about I think just a 10-minute drive in the small town of Xenia. So, been doing bird photography for about 5 years now. I want to say seriously for the past 3 years. So, I love to do all sorts of wildlife, but it's definitely mainly birds. So, always there's never a dull moment. Always something to look out for.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, because especially in Ohio, we have a lot of mammals and such, but it's like the birds is like there's always something to see all year, which is really neat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many places to see so many different wildflowers and butterflies and different kinds of mammals. I mean, we don't have I wouldn't say we have the variety of like the western parts of the continent, but we have a lot of goodies, definitely, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we get mainly deer, I would say. That's like the big thing. And then squirrels, it's stuff that you see every day, but, it's like a bird. I don't know, but I know with you, it's like if you see a warbler, it's like really exciting, or just any of, life bird or something. And it's,
absolutely.
It's just, they're always something to see. And it's always something different too, which is really neat.
Mm-hmm. So how did you kind of choose birding and wildlife photography in general as your photographic genre?
It's mainly, I'd say it's just a kind of a getaway from, I mean, a lot of people use nature as just like almost like a therapy. So, and I've always been interested in animals and wildlife and conservation stuff. So, but at first, like my first camera was just like a really, really cheap GoPro. I got it because I used to be more into music in like high school. So like I bought it to basically film myself doing like playthroughs of like my band's songs and all that. And once I moved out to Ohio and kind of lost all my bandmates, it just became very stale. So I kind of wanted to find a new outlet for like artistic. I don't know, just something new. So basically, I got the GoPro and just started hiking around just to kind of kill time. And there's one time where we had some snowfall, and I was tinkering around with like the time lapse feature that I was like so in love with at the time. And the wind knocked over the GoPro because I didn't mount it on anything. I just had it on the ground, and it was pointing up at a tree. And throughout I don't know, I think I had it out there for like maybe an hour or so, and it captured some woodpeckers, and I just thought that was like the coolest thing. So downy woodpecker would probably be my spark bird. So the bird that started it all was definitely that little encounter. So that's kind of what started the GoPro, and then now it's evolved into the whole setup.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah,
I mean, you wouldn't think with a GoPro you'd be able to capture any kind of birds, but you were creative, and I guess a little bit of luck too, and you were able to capture that.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even aiming for that, and just the way that the wind knocked it over, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's pretty surreal. I remember the first time I met up with you, I think it was last year, and you told me that story. I was just like, that is so neat, and a downy woodpecker is a good spark bird, I would say, because it's like common, but still very special, because every time I see one, I'm just, get all giddy about it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's never a time I see one that I won't try for a photo of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, it's an awesome story. I don't really don't have anything quite like that. I mean, I saw some, I think my spark bird, not to turn on me, but it was just like a great blue heron or something similar, just because it was so big. But yeah, I don't know. Everyone has their different spark birds, I think.
Yes.
Mhm. For me, it was just those dumb little, well, they're not really dumb, but those vultures that just kind of, I lived near a major road, so they were always around my house. It's kind of the spark bird for me.
I mean, they're good
I'm sure
too.
you probably, yeah, I mean, yeah, those little turkey vultures, those are kind of, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, they're
But
pretty
to
common.
answer your question, I kind of avoided it. I don't know, indirectly. But before, like one of my first jobs was actually working in I got like a portrait studio, sort of like a JCPenney kind of setup, and I just hated it. So even though it was like photography related, it was just I never really was excited to go to work. Um,
Mm.
so even though it was using cameras and doing kind of sort of artistic, I mean it was very cut dry. You had to follow their thing, but um, whenever I would have a chance to go out and into the field, it was always that's what I was really excited about, and not necessarily trying to be antisocial, but like just kind of being alone, avoiding people, and just being with nature and seeing whatever comes in front of the lens. That's just what I'm passionate about. So I think that's probably what would answer that question a little better.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's
Mm.
like your passion for it's very evident. Like I mean, of course, you're like knowledgeable about all the birds, and you kind of share that, especially when you post online. Like you can just clearly, like you can pick up like the vibe, I guess, of people. And it's like you can tell you're just really into it and sharing it with people and getting them excited about birds as well.
Yeah, I love putting a little bit of effort into the captions. I know some of my buddies online on Instagram mainly. They'll just post like the species and then call it a day with their caption. So not that anything's wrong with that, but I love giving something to for people to read if they have the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And going back to that, you're talking about that portrait job. I can imagine that was probably really formulaic, like probably didn't allow for much creativity at all. I would bet. Are
Yeah,
you talking
you're
about,
exactly right.
yeah? Mhm. Are you talking about one of those like jobs where it's just
I think
like the locked in tripod at the J.C. Penney, and you just took a
like
portrait for everyone?
cookie cutter kind of, you just, step in front of the camera, take a picture.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very very cliche work. Like nothing was unique. Everything was so yeah, it was very cliche. So definitely happy to be away from that kind of environment.
Yeah, especially because like portraiture is one thing, but yeah, that's just so dry and stale. Even for like a creative person, it's just like you're just doing the same thing over and over, and it's not fun. I think I actually applied for that similar job or something. And I got like a phone interview, and they never called me back because they're like looking at my portfolio, and it's like you got a lot of like wildlife and landscapes, and they're like, "But do you have any people?" And I'm like, I'm working on it."
Yeah, it's probably a blessing in disguise. But I
Yeah,
mean, I don't
Definitely.
know. I know some people make a career from doing. I mean, either they work for a company like that, or maybe it'll spark a passion for portrait photography outside of like an indoor studio kind of deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
hmm Well, so you kind of moved into bird photography after the portraits. Is there like a certain location you look for birds? Are you more of kind of a situational bird person, or do you like have specific places you tend to go back to?
I definitely have my favorites. Um, I a lot of it is weather related for me. So like, um, I generally almost strictly shoot in like cloudy weather, or like at least mostly cloudy weather. So, but if it's like a cloudless day, then I'll probably venture out to places that don't have much tree cover. So places like marshes or prairies, stuff like that. But since I've been very devoted to birding locally. Even though like I've done a lot of like traveling throughout the state and a couple other places in the country, but I mainly just kind of stay close to home. I almost have like every couple of weeks of the year kind of mapped out to where and what I want to look for according to
Wow.
according to like different kinds of migration patterns or um, just what it would be in the area at the time. So it's almost to a science, but like every year is different, which is what another one of my favorite parts about wildlife photography is. Um, you never know what's going to occur in any season. You have a general idea, but like there's definitely some extremes that can happen. Like take for example this year, it's going to be this year's probably the most uh, the the winter the cone crop in the north, like in Canada, must have been so bad because all these like winter finches of like around like maybe like 4 or 5 different species are starting to come like way far south than they normally do. So it's just one of those crazy years that no one really would expect.
Yeah, it's almost
That's
like you have to play like amateur weatherman a little bit because like yeah,
mhm.
eruptions of species and stuff. It's pretty neat, but it's like to predict that coming in, you have to like study the weather patterns in like you said other countries like up north, in Canada or something. The migratory
Yeah, and
paths and all
that
that.
and I'm sure all that planning, that's probably one of the main elements that makes your photos so great. I just that's so cool that you do that. I just like that's definitely shows dedication, and I envy you for being able to do that. I'm not that patient to plan out those things. I'm a very situational kind of photographer. I really admire that.
You just got to do your homework.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a process though, because I mean, like I've been birding my county for at least I think I think I started in 2015, so this is like my 5th year of doing it, and I mean it's still a work in progress. It's probably always going to be a work in progress, but um, yeah, it's a fun challenge. You just and it's fun to have like a local aspect to it too, because like people can travel all over the country, but I mean like when you have like the birds that are close to home, it's a little bit more special. At least to me, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like that local focus really puts like an edge on your work overall because like a lot of people, they'll go bird internationally, even travel these far-flung, locations, but you're just kind of over here in, to be fair, it's like dinky little green county, which you appreciate it for what it is, but it does have its faults. It's not really the most birdable place in the world. But I mean, you can still find great birds here. There's always something to
Yeah,
see. Yeah.
yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, even in just Ohio alone, it's like definitely a bottom tier in terms of like species recorded and even people that even bird in the county. So it's um it's definitely not like birding on the lake. I mean, like Lake Erie is what I'm mentioning, and but like yeah, it's just that like quirky little close to home thing, and it's fun. But you're right. There's good birds to be found everywhere. So it's just a lot of it's just um, putting in the work.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's neat because you kind of have this like core group of people you can rely on or at least communicate with back and forth too, which is neat, just for like the county here.
Yeah, absolutely. 'Cause we have that. There's basically just 4 main people that do bird the area. There's obviously some stragglers from other counties that will dabble in, but um, yeah, it's nice because like especially in like spring when migration's in full force, like we almost try to not bird at the same areas, so then we can cover a lot of ground and like, hey, I found this bird here, or you found that bird there, and and it's also a testament to how far technology's come. Because I mean, like, it's crazy that you can share that much information, and
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially eBird too. I know that's been a big part of what you do, and even mine, of course. I found it to be a huge resource and be like really helpful to what we do.
Yeah, that's an absolute pivotal tool. I mean, I don't think I'd be anywhere near where I am today without eBird, to be quite honest.
Mm. I'm kind of new to birding here. I don't want to sound like a complete noob or anything, but could you actually explain a little bit what eBird is?
Yeah, eBird, it's not like social media. It's got elements of it, but basically it revolves around like citizen science, and but like there's some perks to for the people that do submit reports. So basically, um, it you can submit a report anywhere in the world essentially, and it'll track like how far you'll then enter in the information to where you can like it'll tell you how far you've traveled in a specific area, and then it'll have like a list of like the expected species that are found in that area at that time of year. So, and then it basically just logs everything for
Mm-hmm.
you. So it basically creates like almost like a database for yourself, and
Wow.
it also has the database of basically everyone. Not it doesn't give everyone's personal like numbers and all that away, but you can then see data of like specific species and when they were found, what time of day. It's crazy how much information is on there.
Is this a free program?
Yeah, definitely free. Um,
Wow.
I don't think they have. I think they have like classes or other things that you can pay for, but I don't think. I think there's a lot of free information to get going with it. But um, a lot of the like before I even started reporting, I was kind of on eBird just as like a lurker for about a couple months before I really dove headfirst into it.
It's awesome. And you're not only helping yourself, you're uh, helping others as well. So,
Yep, you're exactly right. It helps them. It's run by Cornell University, so and they do a ton of ornithology related endeavors. So
mhm.
it definitely helps that for them to track different patterns in bird life. It's quite incredible, honestly.
Yeah, it's neat how it puts like the social aspect in birding because I feel like you can bird in groups, of course, but I feel like a lot of us just like to kind of isolate. And I know you do, Sean, and me too, especially. But it's like we kind of like to just be alone and do our thing, like you're saying, and be one with nature. But yeah, it's really neat to kind of go back and look at checklists from even decades ago. People report birds at locations that we go to, and yeah, it's a really helpful resource. I've enjoyed using it for about a year or two now, I think.
Yeah, and that it really helps too, because I mean, like it'll help jog your memory of like what you did in the previous year. So like there was times where I was like, like in the summertime when it gets kind of slow, like you kind of at least I like love to see like what I saw in the past, and then you can like see different patterns of like what birds were being found at these specific areas, and it's it honestly just helps plan, and you can do a whole bunch of countless things with it, honestly.
hmm Yeah, it's become like a part of my workflow. Honestly, if I like set out to go to a place and I know I'm doing wildlife photography, I will check eBird for that location, depending on the time of year, like you said, and just see what kind of birds I might expect, and then learn about them because you can click on the individual species and it'll take you to like the Merlin app if you're on like mobile, and you can just see like bird calls, pictures of them, just learn more about them. It's just a really helpful resource.
Yeah, and definitely, and like even with the photography aspect, I mean, if you want to have like a really extravagant new subject, I mean, it'll then kind of point you in the right direction of where to go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out. I have trouble in particular identifying birds. Like I have a couple bird books, but it's just hard. Is there like a forum on there or something where you can like, I don't know, like send a picture and then people will help you or something like that?
I don't think eBird has something like that, but I know there's just
Mhm.
countless bird groups on Facebook. So um, I'm sure even probably your local area has at least one or two of them. I know
Mhm.
I know
Louisville.
Ohio has. arguably the best birding community in terms of like networking and all
Yeah, I
that.
think the Audubon Society is either headquartered where I live. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, so I'm definitely sure I could find something like that.
Yeah, I would assume with that big of a city, I would assume that they have probably a pretty good group or a good network of people.
Yeah. So, what would you say is your most, I don't know, like challenging bird that you've planned out the shot, and what's the most challenging capture that you've achieved, basically?
Challenging. I don't know. Almost all of them have posed some sort of challenge, which I really do like. It's such a satisfying feeling once you like nail a shot, especially of a species that like you've been after for so many years. So, but like to pinpoint like a specific species or I think it's hard to do that, but I'd say like raptors and ducks would probably be the two most difficult ones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with birds of prey, they're really they can cover so much ground. So like getting and obviously they like to be like way up in the sky. So like it's really difficult to get like a dynamic background or just getting a really intimate look at a hawk is difficult just because they like to fly above us rather than at eye level. So um, those are really difficult. And then I'd say ducks are up there too, just because of how they're just so aware of their surroundings. So like even if you're in a hide or just very camouflage or whatever, even just the shutter of your camera will set them off. Like it's just crazy how um, it's crazy how timid they can be. At least some species. I mean, obviously you can go to like your local city park and there'll be the mallards and the abandoned pet ducks that will come right up to you just because they're more habituated to humans. But like the true wild ducks are definitely probably the toughest subjects to shoot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Have you had like any major experience with like raptors or anything? Like,
A few. Um, Not too often. I know some areas are definitely much better than others. But I think my area doesn't really get a whole lot, and at least from my experiences, I don't really have really many hot spots for like photographing them.
mm-hmm.
So it's a lot easier for like people like in like more mountainous um, like habitats, so like they can be at really good elevations, so that they can be at the same level as like soaring hawks. So um, but I don't really have too much experience with photographing many birds of prey. I mean, we do have some good areas for like short-eared owls. Like they love like prairie habitats, but they're just a really difficult species to photograph because at least the ones that come to my area, they only like to like stay. They only come out like right at dusk, so like the light is just so low.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more lucky like finding like a perched hawk or a perched owl. That's kind of you just have to stumble upon it.
Yeah. I'm looking at your Instagram here, and you've got a great picture of a barred owl. Excellent work. I think it's your most recent post.
Yeah. That was down in Florida, and that's where that place is like only a 10-15 minute drive from where my grandmother lives. So whenever I do go down there, and I always try to go to that one specific park just because it's got so much variety. But those owls, it's almost like cheating. It's crazy because like clockwork, they always show up in go figure the parking lot of that park. So and it's a very famous reserve. So like you've got
Yeah.
like at minimum 15 other photographers looking for the owls too, from all over the world. I mean, there's there's one really famous photographer on Instagram. I think his name is Harry Collins or something like that. He's very famous for great gray owl photos and peregrine falcon shots. And I was visiting down there, and because he's from Pennsylvania too, so like it was just funny because we both met up in Florida, like so many miles away from home. It's just crazy how places that are so famous for easy wildlife photos, you can meet people from all over the world there.
Wow.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, even up here in Ohio, we have McGee Marsh. I know you've gone there a few times in previous years. Unfortunately, they closed it this year, of course, of the pandemic. But and I was wanting to go because you sold me on it. Every time you talk about it, I'm just like, these warbler species at eye level, and telephoto's almost too long for it. So I was just like really excited. But I'm hoping next year at least. But it's kind of like that same idea with just meeting people, the community aspect of it all.
Yeah, it's really really a fun time up there. It's crazy how like it's such a more incredible birding experience from what we're used to, because it's just the diversity is just crazy on the lake, and it's really fun to put the names to people's faces, because I mean like you see them all over the Facebook groups and all that, and on eBird, and it's really a fun just networking and finally getting to see these people in real life rather than just the names on their online.
Yeah, definitely. I've met a lot of cool people just that way. Even if I just pass by them once, or it's like an ongoing friendship. And yeah, and we're all united under the same cause, I guess. Not to be cliche, but yeah, it's really neat. So yeah, Sean, you kind of touched upon this a little bit, but yeah, you're here in Greene County, Ohio, and like, what particular really makes you focus on that instead of like versus going across the other counties, because that's kind of where I do is I go to the surrounding counties as well and just bird those, but you seem to focus intently on Greene in particular.
Yeah. When I first started getting into birding, I definitely wanted to check off as many birds as I could on my list. So at the time, I was definitely venturing out more and more, um, going for just getting all those lifers knocked out of the way. Um, and then, but I don't know what got me so passionate about just staying locally, but it's not I wouldn't say it's just me being lazy, because like I don't mind traveling at all to, and there's so many good parks around us too, not just in Green. There's I mean like just countless so many great parks that um, you can find so many great birds in. But I don't know if it's just my competitiveness, but like there's another part of eBird, is that they have like that top 100. You can see like they rank. It's crazy. Only an American company would make birding competitive, and I know that's a quote from the big year, but like it's really fun to like rank yourself just by like it ranks people by how many species people have seen. So like I don't, and it's in like a specific area. So I don't know if it's my competitiveness or just it's just fun to stay close to home, get those, just finding new records for the county, and I don't know. I think that just is probably my number one reason, is just kind of that close to home factor.
Are you kind of towards the top of the list in your county, or?
Yeah, I actually used to be first overall,
Wow.
but a couple of other species have popped up that I already had that a couple of other birders didn't have. So I think I'm now third, unfortunately. But it's really, I mean, there's no bragging. I mean, it's not even worth bragging rights. It's just a silly thing. It's a silly feature of eBird, but it's fun.
Hmm. It's
I
like
think that's
it's something
very
to kind
cool.
of work for. I think I feel like you kind of like that little intrinsic motivation, that challenge.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
I
a
feel like
number at the end of the day.
sometimes in photography, outside of like contests, especially for like nature photography in general, there's not always. I feel like that's a good tangible way to measure success. Well, it's not even measuring success; just a nice thing to work towards. Basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's the cool thing about the birding world is that, like, I mean, a lot of people, it's mainly, there's just so many lists that you can make, and like that's if you're into doing such a thing. 'Cause I mean, like I know some people keep like lists of birds that you've heard or birds that you've photographed or anything really. So it's definitely a very goal oriented form of just being involved in nature.
Definitely.
And everyone kind of approaches it differently too. Like I feel like you kind of hop around locations several times in a day, and I like to personally. I'll spend hours at a place. Well, I do that anyways. Even if I'm not doing birds or whatever. But like, I kind of like just kind of settle into the place. I really try not to hop around different locations in a day.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, especially whenever I do those like New Year's big days, where I'm hitting so many places in one day. Yeah, it's definitely a lot, but I mean it's fun. And there's definitely been times where I'll just hang out at one spot for 3-4 hours. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right on.
Would you? How many photos? So you get back from a photo shoot. How many photos do you usually end up importing onto your computer?
I usually try to get a. I try to use this little ratio. If I go out into the field 2 or 3 times, I'm hoping to get at least one photo. So it's definitely low success rate.
Mm-hmm.
But that's good because it's like
Yeah,
quality over quantity, and like it shows on your
exactly.
on your Instagram. Like, yeah, no, you don't take junk shots, or at least you don't share them. I think everyone takes junk shots.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I take plenty of bad photos.
yeah. The success rate, like the ratio, is very high and low, I guess. But yeah, you definitely have a higher standard than I'm not putting down anyone else, but like even me, honestly, I'll put a permissible shot that's like it's okay, but your work is just very high quality, I think.
Awesome. Well,
Sure.
really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm with him too. It's amazing stuff. Specifically the backgrounds. I mean, you said you shoot on like a 400 millimeter. Your backgrounds are just like amazing. It's just something so whimsical about them. Great composition, great colors,
It's just
nice
clean.
and
Like,
sharp. Yeah.
yeah, like a lot of your backgrounds are just very clean. You got like a little bit of foliage, maybe the perches. Sometimes you kind of break the mold a little bit, maybe do something that's a little more, not wider angle, but, kind of shows more of the area and habitat. But yeah, overall, it's just very clean, I guess. But I guess you could just talk about more about your gear.
Yeah, I definitely strive for a very like isolated subject. It's not easy with a lot of them, like especially like sparrows or birds that like love to hang out in dense cover. Marsh birds for sure are another one that are like that. But like it's definitely been like I don't really know if I have like a set influence of someone who does it like that. But I mean, there's definitely plenty of other bird photographers that I watch and kind of try to emulate that kind of feel. But going back to the gear. Yeah, I do use the Canon 400 millimeters, the f5.6L. So it's definitely one of their cheaper end telephotos, but it's just very bare bones, and but you can get like some professionally like sharp photos with it. Um, and yeah, with my body, I do use a crop sensor, so that definitely helps get a little bit closer to the subject.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it does suffer in low light, so there are definitely some birds that I have to shoot in either
Mm-hmm.
winter, late fall, or early spring before like any um before the trees get too thick, or else my ISOs will be way too way too high.
Yeah. I'm shooting on the new Canon RF 600 f11, so I'm sure you got slight advantage there, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I am though in the market though. I am planning on splurging a bit and getting the 500 f4. Hopefully
Oh
sooner than
wow.
later. Yeah, definitely an investment, but I feel like it'll be
Yes, yes.
It'd be worth it, I think. Definitely. How heavy is that?
yeah.
Like, do you need like support, like a monopod?
I'm sorry. One more time.
How heavy is that like lens in particular? Do you need like like a tripod or monopod for it?
I've heard. I think I saw it. I think it was. I think it's 8 pounds compared to the 3 pounds that I have right now. So
Wow.
while on paper it doesn't really sound that heavy, it's definitely maybe I'm definitely gonna feel it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
So
I have a
I think I
good.
know a handful of people that use it, and it's very 50-50. A lot of people will use either a monopod or some people just hand hold it. So I'm thinking I'll just need to build up some muscle for it.
Especially springtime. You got pointing up at the treetops for the warblers or something. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, not looking too forward for that. But I mean,
Yeah.
if because like the thing that I'm missing the most, I think, is the image stabilization. I don't have that on
Oh, really? Wow.
on my lens, so I've been able to get away with it. I think I've been able to over the years kind of been able to brace myself whenever I am taking a photo in low light. So, but I
So
think
how low of a shutter speed would you say you can go with that without
I
like
try
stimulation?
not to go lower than 1/320th of a second.
Okay.
Oh wow.
That
Okay.
that's not horrible though. I mean
I was gonna say
that's pretty
500,
good.
but
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty good if you can get. I mean, it looks
Mm.
pinch sharp to me, but I mean, you do have a prime lens, so it would be a little
Because
sharper.
like even with my image stabilization and my lens is fairly light, I don't go past 100 with image stabilization. So you must have pretty steady hands if you can.
Yeah, I try to. It's definitely I mean, there's definitely, and I definitely kill that fast shutter. I mean, I'm definitely peppering all of my subject with like that amount, at least 40, 50 shots at a single
Uh,
burst. So I mean, like, and sometimes I don't even get a single shot out of that.
So tell us like a typical day for you, Sean. Like going out birding. Like how does it start to finish? Kind of. Yeah. How do you operate? I guess.
Um, I basically just if I'm not at work, I definitely work a lot. So I try to go out at least once a week. Sometimes not even that, don't even get that one day. So definitely taking an eye on, keeping an eye on the weather, seeing basically the weather almost dictates where I'm going to go, and it's obviously the time of year is going to dictate that as well. So um, generally, just head out. I don't really pack too much. It's just camera and binoculars, and then obviously my phone and keys whenever I'm out in the field. So it's very, very light. I don't use another lens at all. It's very, very, very bare because I mean I'm only looking for birds, so I
mhm.
don't really need to carry all that much stuff. So um, usually just head out, and then sometimes I'll have like a target bird in mind, and then more often than not, I'm just hoping for anything will pop in front of the lens because um, I don't really have a set. I mean, there's some people that focus on like raptors and other kinds of birds. I mean, I'm just all over the place. So, but just go out in the field and then try to find anything. And usually just walking a trail. Um, it's very, very simple, very, very simplistic. And then I don't know, not really too much to add there. It's very, very. I try to just use it as like relaxation too. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
It
too stressed
definitely is.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely is real. Especially, yeah, bird photography. You can just kind of turn off your brain for a while, just kind of roam around, and
To a thing. It's like a calm focus is what I would say. Like
yeah,
especially if you're out and it's like you don't hear highway traffic in some places, I guess, and it's like you just hear bird song and you're just tuned into that. It's like yeah, there's no other experience I can really describe it as or compare it to.
Yeah, calm focus. That's a really, really good way of putting it.
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah, that's why we do it. I guess it's honestly just
Hmm.
I feel like that's a big reason. Yeah,
And just the chase of it. Obviously, I would hope at least we're not just chasing birds, like we're not scaring them and stuff, but just
after them.
there's something adventurous about it. Like it's like hunting, but without having to hurt animals. It's just it's very
Camera.
exhilarating, I could say.
Yeah, I know for me, it's like there's nothing more exciting than finding a new bird, and not only that, but getting a photograph of it. there's like I go home and I'm just like it's so giddy about I want to go and edit the images and stuff. And it's like I know with Sean, you and I, mainly you. I mean, you give me tips about places to go, different times of year, and it's like I've had a lot of success because of that too, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one thing. I don't know if I'll ever become like a tour guide or whatever, but like yeah, just sharing that is always great because I mean I just know that like whenever you do get those moments, I mean they're just so unforgettable. I mean, me and you had that Henslow's sparrow this late spring, and that was just like one of the most surreal moments like in all of my birding.
Yeah, bar none, one of my best bird photo sessions. It's just insane. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll describe for Henry and everyone else, but it was like even me or a local, really well known prairie, and it's like what were we doing? We're just kind of feeling it out, I guess. We're hearing it, so we're doing some like call and responses with some bird calls on our phones, and we were kind of opposite ends, just about maybe 20 feet away from each other, and then you're like, oh, he's just right there, and he like kind of came up from the sedge grasses or whatnot, and he just kind of got closer to us, more curious, and he was literally like what a few feet away, probably.
Yeah, it was just incredible. I mean,
Yeah,
just
and
such a special bird too. I mean, not just like a really common species. I mean that's one of the toughest birds to photograph, and at least in the sparrow family that we do get here in Ohio.
hmm yeah, and
Cool.
he was perched there for like probably 5 minutes too or something. It was enough time to like take our time and just get closer, and even it was yeah, that moment in particular is really surreal. So yeah, tell us more about maybe because you talk about tour guiding, kind of like a little bit of I guess education, but yeah, I guess to the newcomer of birding or even bird photography, like what would you recommend? I guess just
I'm
like
sorry,
how
what
to
was that
get
last part? What was that last part?
like how would you get started? I guess in bird photography or birding, like what would you recommend?
I think I would recommend at least getting one field guide, and then obviously almost everyone has a phone or a tablet to where people can download like the Merlin app or the Audubon app to where you can then like see photos of birds and then you can hear them as well. Because I feel like a lot of people would have more success if they learn their bird calls as well as obviously learning what birds do visually look like.
Mhm.
So I think I think the biggest thing is just spend a lot of time in the field, learn your common birds. Because I mean, like you can learn a whole bunch of extravagant, very birds, extravagant, beautiful looking birds that you're probably not going to see at like your local patch. But if you don't know what the common blue jays or the mourning doves, cardinals, like just the birds like that, I feel like that's very important too, because once you learn your common birds, then if there's something else that sounds off, then that'll really catch your ear. Like you'll say, "Oh, let's go hike over here and see if we can get a little closer look at whatever's making that noise." So, because like I think I mentioned it in one of my videos, it's like if you hear like a goldfinch singing in one direction, but you have a Kirtland's warbler, something that's super rare, singing in the other direction, but you don't know what is what, and you go into the direction of the common bird. And while there's nothing wrong with photographing a goldfinch, but I mean, like obviously you're gonna want to see that really rare species.
Hmm.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's you're right. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's like you start small, I think, and yeah, you get kind of familiar with your backyard birds or something, for example, your doves, your cardinals, or whatever you have in your location area, and you just now it's like for me, it's like I go to a place and I hear those common birds easily. You can pick up on the different calls and variations if they have any, and then from there, yeah, you just kind of build upon it. And
Hmm.
it's a year long, many years really process, just slowly improving your skills.
And you can also start to learn their behavior. Like, do they prefer, to be up in trees or to be on the ground, or what kind of food do they tend to go after? You can just learn a lot about just kind of observing.
Habitats, especially too.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
you
think
guys are exactly right.
habitat's a big part of it. I think, yeah, it's like I think I've mentioned in one of my videos too. Is like you wouldn't see a duck, in the forest necessarily. I mean, I guess it could happen. Wood duck, maybe. It's like yeah, it's just about knowing things, I guess, knowledge and doing your homework, your research.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially it's a lot of it's just knowing your subject is almost at least half the part of it because I mean you really got to know what these birds are going to be because I mean they're just not going to appear right in front of you. You got to definitely put in the work for them for sure.
Mhm.
Yes, definitely.
There's a few serendipitous moments, but yeah, overall, you really have to work for photographing wildlife, and because they're not on your schedule. Like as much as we'd like to have them just magically perch, this golden hour light on a tree next to us, it's not going to really happen that likely. So you have to really know what you're doing, and that way you get better photos as a result.
Mm-hmm. Now you always do. Every once in a while, you do get rewarded with some lucky shots. That was actually a question I was going to ask you, Sean. Has there ever been like just kind of the unplanned, like perfect moment shot with a bird, just perfect lighting? Have you experienced any of those recently or anything?
Recently, yeah, actually a couple of about a week ago, I was just out at just a small little park, and then mainly focusing on just on like some songbirds and just other smaller birds. But then like uh, I was on like a boardwalk, so like I was a little bit elevated, which was nice. And then I noticed there was about like 75 birds that just kind of like up and left. So I was like, okay, I know something. And they were pretty calm with me, so I knew something else had to have been like the reason why they all flushed. And then as I look up, and this is kind of funny because you're asking if I've had luck with raptors, and it was my first ever time photographing an adult Cooper's hawk. So
Hmm.
it flew in. It didn't even. I mean, I wasn't even. I don't even think I was in full camo at that time. So I was just really surprised, and I was on a boardwalk, so it's not like I was covered at all. I was very just out in the open. And this Cooper's hawk just flies right on this perfect perch. The perch had so much character too, so it's not just like a regular bird on a stick photo.
Mm-hmm.
And just that was just absurd because like the hawk was clearly just either starving or something because his head was going around. He was really into the hunt. So I think that's my one of my most recent ones. But there's been times where like you can be just on a bird for like a good little while where it's kind of like hiding in a bush or just not very cooperative, and then just out of nowhere it'll just start walking or flying right towards you. So that's always fun. And then I think shorebirds like sandpipers and plovers and other birds of the such. Yeah, they're probably my favorite group of birds to photograph. And it's always fun when you're just like laying on a beach or at the edge of a pond, and they're also focused on like getting food or whatever, and they just like walk right up to you as if you're not even there. So
Uh-huh.
that kind of stuff that's always my favorite kind of thing where they just kind of ignore that you're there, they're doing their own thing, and you just capture their natural behavior.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, that's neat. And crickets. I always have something to say and then I forget it. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
feel it. Uh,
Let's
crickets.
see.
But we could probably end it. I
We could
mean,
talk
sort
about
of.
before we
But
end it. We could talk about like kind of like inspirational photographers, like people you look up to.
yeah, influences. Yeah, go ahead and like reinstate that, Henry.
All right. So, Sean, are there any kind of inspirational wildlife photographers you look up to?
Definitely. I try to do my own thing as much as I can. But there's definitely the big names. I think like Scott Keys, he's probably my favorite bird photographer. And then Um, I don't really do much of his style, but I love his work. Ray Hennessy as well, and then there's like some smaller names that I really enjoy their work. There's this one woman in Wisconsin her name is Brandy Grawl, I think is how her last name is pronounced, and her work is just fantastic. It's always her she's just an artist with like light, and like just the light in all of her photos are just incredible. So I don't really I try to take a little bit of everything from what I see and put it into my work, but um, I wouldn't say I try to really emulate someone's work completely, but there's definitely a whole handful of people that I definitely look up to for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. I can agree with that. It's like you have influences, but you just kind of like to do your own thing, and it works for you. That's what matters most. But yeah, it's nice to kind of look up
Exactly.
to people and get inspired that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because a lot of people try to really get artistic with like different shots and all that. And while I love doing that too, I think like just because as a kid, like I was always enamored with like field guides and stuff like that. So like I was always like almost a lot of my favorite shots are just the not really boring, but like just like the very like the stuff that you like see in like a field guide, like the very documentative things that like show certain field marks on certain species and just stuff like that. Those are like almost always my favorite shots that I take.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you do pretty well, like just doing solid bird portraits. I think, yeah, you kind of do some artful stuff I see on your Instagram, but yeah, you definitely stick to just like a nice, solid, bird portrait, which is I think very important. Some people just kind of get
Yeah.
too wacky with effects and all that sort.
Mm-hmm. You can have it allows for a very uniform portfolio, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So, Sean, do you have like I guess I have rapid fire questions here, but do you have any like dream locations, chase birds, or any of that sort that you'd like to share?
It's not really too I don't know what the right word is. It's not too crazy. I have not been out west to go birding. I mean, like I've been there as a kid because I mean I've tagged along on a couple of my dad's business trips, but I've never been able to go out and get any of those western birds. So it's just crazy because like there's like an entire other half of my field guide that I have never been able to see before. So hopefully sooner than later that my fiance and I can head out to like maybe Arizona or California, some places where there's just so many birds that aren't going to be found here in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
There's definitely some cool birds down there. We're not down there, but to
To the side, yeah.
to the side, yeah.
So any chase birds or anything? Anything you're really hunting down, I guess?
Um, I don't know, because like woodpeckers are like the family that kind of started it all for me. I'd love to get all those like the western woodpecker species like acorn woodpecker, some of the really hard to find sapsuckers. But I think I know they've been so photographed, especially lately. I am just dying to find a great gray owl. So I think I
Yeah,
might have to go to like Minnesota or something. I don't know, one winter.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Or a snowy owl. Do you have a snowy owl photo?
Oh
By
yeah,
chance?
yeah. There was
Yeah. Okay.
2017. 2017 was a ridiculous eruption year for them, and I think
That's right. Yeah.
almost half of all of Ohio's 88 counties got to see at least one of them.
Yeah, that's insane.
Well,
I'm waiting for the day at least. It's really cool. So yeah, Sean, where can people go to learn more about your work?
I'm pretty bare bones. I don't have a website. I think maybe I'll get one eventually, but I I do mainly all my stuff just on Instagram. I don't have any other. I don't have Twitter or Facebook or anything like that. At least for my photography stuff. Yeah, it's just all on Instagram. That Sean Hollow. It's not my full last name, but yeah, Instagram's fun. I help moderate a couple of two hubs, so definitely is a lot of work, but it's a fun time.
Cool. You have a YouTube as well, right?
I do, yeah. Totally forgot about my YouTube channel. Um,
Had to mention
yeah,
it.
I try and I think I average maybe one video every like 4 months. So yeah, I don't have too much time to do my YouTube channel, although I would definitely like to do more.
All right. Awesome, man.
Well,
Thanks for
thank you for
coming
coming
on,
on.
Sean.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a blast. Yeah, I'm glad to finally have been on because yeah, I've definitely been a fan for the past I think 14 episodes. So
Yeah. All right. And make sure
Big
you
fan
guys
of
check
yours.
out his work.
Yeah. All right. See you
All
guys.
right. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching the All Outdoors Photography Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and the video version on YouTube as well. You can subscribe down below, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you.